All right, Jacob Lowe, welcome onto the Reese Moby podcast. How you doing right now?
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm excited for this one. Let's get right into it. Let's do it.
Yeah, really. I've just seen you in the like couple group chats that we're in, you firing on the Twitter timeline especially. And like first thing I knew when we were recording this, like this morning I woke up and I was like, okay, I have the first question already. I know. Like where is this fire coming from? And then I do kind of have a question below that of like, what's the lifestyle that you've been living that has opened the space for this power to come through? So there's no blocks. So kind of a two-parted question there right away. But yeah, welcome on. Thank you.
All right. There's a lot there, so I'm taking some notes real quick just to
Yeah,
kind of.
go ahead.
What I'll do is I'll start with a little bit of my story. I played football at Stanford. I lost it pretty tough. Kind of it was a lot of it was out of my control. I was advised by a healthcare professional not to go back, which really sucks. I'm from Florida too, so it's kind of like Florida and California are two different countries in my opinion. I love both, but they're just two completely different things. And a 6-hour flight back and forth. My family's had been doing so. I tried to play football again. It didn't work. So this was the end of 2024. The start of 2025, I elected to have a second back surgery, and that was just awful. But I came out of that surgery and I was a little happier. I was kind of euphoric. And I'm like, okay, it was weird, but I just kind of leaned into it. I think the reason for that was I was in pain for 4 months and it was finally gone. And so a couple weeks later, I was on a walk with my dad. I just told him I was a little bit off. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I still had like, 15, 16 classes until I was done with my undergrad, which I'm still getting. So like I've got life a little bit on easy mode right now. But um I told him I'm like, I'm kind of purposeless. I didn't have any direction. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And he goes, well, you can just be a deadbeat. It was the first time in my life that he really meant that. And so I was like, okay, I'm not letting this guy tell me
Wow.
what I can and
When
can't
was
do.
that?
This was on a walk last January. It's about 18 months ago. And
Mm,
so I saw an ad, Nick Sweeney, obviously everybody knows his name by now. I saw an ad by him at the time. He's much smaller of a creator. He's still like 20K. Like he was just
yeah.
getting omnipresence. But I saw him blow up right before it. He was just finishing coaching, but for some reason, something told him to coach me. Hopped on a call with him, was starting to do a lot of breath work. And I think that's what first gave me a lot of courage was regulating my nervous system, learning how to do that, along with some other variables of like starting to really read and dive into like reality creation. And it all just kind of hit at once. And I'm like, I don't even know what works, like what's working for me. And so, like, for the rest of 2025, I just kept improving a lot of quantum leaps. And I was starting from a pretty low bar. Um, and then in August, I just decided I was mental performance coaching for high school athletes. I decided I had enough of trying to figure it out on my own. I hired a mentor. And then I told Nick that I hired a mentor. He came right back. He was going viral. He had about 150,000 followers. He goes, I've got people begging me to coach them. I want to coach with you. And so I had just gone from in 8 months, like nothing, deadbeat, to coaching with the literally probably the hottest growing social media influencer in the world because he had exploded. He 10x his following in like 5 months. And then he did it twice, right? So, I
Hmm.
mean, it was just incredible. So, him and I worked together. I closed at a 52% rate for him. At the start of the year, he changed offers to Coherent Creators, which he's still running. I closed for that, decided it wasn't worth closing for it because I'm like, it's a lower ticket. And I'm like, if somebody needs a sales call for it, they're probably not aligned for it. And so the start of this past year, I've been working more in healthcare. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it's been. I've learned a lot though, and I've improved upon it. A lot of stress hit me this year so far, and so 3 weeks ago I had another seizure, and so came out of nowhere. I go unconscious during my seizures. It's only my third one, but still. And so that cleared a lot of energy for me, I think. And so there was a visualization I had a couple days after it. I woke up around 4:30 and I for some reason I fell into visualization. I love breath work, I love visualization, I love subconscious rewiring, all that kind of stuff. And I just fell deep into it and I could see myself in about 12 to 18 months living the life I want to live. And I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do to get there. And ever since, like somebody I know, he's Rayanne Esoterica HQ on Twitter.
Yes.
He's on fire right now too. And we were on a group
Yeah.
call with Jack Moses, and he's like, when you have the spirit, you've got life to you, and you don't need any sleep. And of course, I'm sleeping right now, right? But um, He's like, you don't need sleep, you don't need anything. You've got the spirit, you've got a vessel of God streaming right through you. And so a lot of limiting beliefs just were obliterated there. And so I started
Mm,
identifying like what's the true story I'm telling myself. And a lot of that story was like, I can't do content creation during school. I can't do content creation right now. I don't have the money to afford it. And it's just like, that just wasn't true. Right. And I noticed that
yeah.
courage and embarrassment are inversely correlated. And I was dealing with a lot of fear of being seen, even though I've posted content for about a year now. And so it was just another inflection point of like, I can post content, I can do these things, but I just
Mm,
tell myself I can't. If I just start telling myself a different story. And so just becoming aware of the story I'm telling myself, and really just being decisive and concise and really detailed about the life I want to live. And so that's led to just being on fire. So
yeah. Dude, that's super cool. um, I want to make sure I remember this right. You said embarrassment and courage are inverse,
inversely correlated. Yeah. The more
inversely
courage you
correlated.
have,
That's
the,
yes,
the more
yes,
courage
yes.
you have to do something, the less you care about others' opinions. And all
Hmm.
your power comes from within, anyways, right? Luke 17:21 suggests that heaven's internal. And so that's one thing I really learned when I started doing breath work was the more I go internally and the more I believe I have power within myself, the less I need it on the outside, the less
Hmm.
external validation I need. And it got to the point last year, in a good way, in which like it did not matter what people told me. I was going to do whatever I wanted to, and my goals were a lot smaller than they were right now. But I did everything I wanted to. Appear on podcasts, lose 25 pounds, work with Nick. But now it's like I've built that evidence, which now is breeding confidence on top of conviction, on top of faith,
Yeah.
and anything's possible once you do something like that once, right?
Hmm. And then you find that story that you're telling yourself, like the foolish stories saying that you can't do this or you're not worthy or you're not enough or you don't have the time. And then you look back and you just have a line of evidence proving the exact opposite. So I feel like that makes the mental reframe from the untrue story to the true story super, super easy because you just have all this proof behind it.
Right. And so it's good to have a streamline of evidence that you have done things in the past and you've been able to grow and achieve bigger things and progress. Where it gets dangerous is if you have to rely on that constantly, because then
Yeah.
your self-esteem starts to really flirt. Your self-esteem should kind of be like a rocket ship to get you off the ground. And then the other fuel should be conviction, should be faith, right? Going
Mm,
internal, really, really building on your faith and trusting yourself, building a lot of
yeah.
self-trust, because conviction is just self-trust at the end of the day and being able to act upon it. Matthew 9:29 says, as much faith as you have upon yourself is exactly the amount you can achieve. Right. And so, like, I just noticed the story I kept telling myself earlier this past year. It's like I wanted one thing and I was telling myself another. And I really became aware of that. So,
Okay. What did you do about that then?
after the seizure, it was kind of a reset. So I can't drive right now. I can't drive for a couple more weeks, probably about 6 weeks at most. And so right now I have a lot of time. And so what I've realized is I told myself if it ever happened again, I would take advantage of it. So it kind of
Yeah.
manifested that in and of itself. But no, but seriously, is I'm just becoming extremely aware of the story I'm telling myself. And I know I keep saying it,
Yeah.
but what's the dominant thought forms? What's the dominant reaction? What's the dominant expectation, perceptions, belief? What are those emotionally charged thoughts that are being dominant? Are they fearful
Mm,
or are they faithful? Right? Because those are really the only two things. The two dominant emotions that we have are fear and faith. It never really flirts in between. Um, and so just being aware of that story, it's on my whiteboard. I look at it every day. It's like, what's the story you keep telling yourself? And there's a lot of definitely physical factors that play into it and taking action, but it starts internal. It really does.
yeah. Um, I remember when you messaged me that like you had a seizure, and I was like, wow, this is like it must be the new esoteric energy clearing because it's like it seemed like that happened, and now it's good that you told yourself that you were going to take advantage of it because I don't know if you'd be this on fire as you've been lately if you didn't. If you use that as an excuse or as a reason to like slow down or relax, and I'm sure you have in some sense, but then in this other very a very like focused way, you've been completely taking advantage of that, like pushing out YouTube videos, articles. I think you posted a couple more podcasts lately on your YouTube channel. And even just, I guess for those listening, this is the second time we recorded. We must have done another one like maybe a month ago or a month and a half ago.
Right.
And it just, like, I can hear it in your answers now. They're so coherent and your words are just flowing right out of you. Whereas before, it was a little jumbled. I think on both ends too. I'm not just blaming you here. Like obviously, I could have been better too. But the first one just did not flow quite right, and this one I can just hear and sense and feel the difference in you.
And all internal.
One just kind of like, oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I think another factor too is college. This is my fifth day in a row of recording a podcast as well, so I'm taking advantage of the flow.
Let's go.
But college is like it brings my energy down, like just straight up. And so, because it's just so much different now. And so I did before the seizure, there was like a few days I had between the last day of class, my last exam, and then having that seizure. And so I felt a noticeable difference once I was back into the things that I wanted to do, you know? And so being not being in class helps a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm. I felt that a little bit. In the summer, I work a serving job at a busy local restaurant. I grew up a few minutes away from it, like super familiar with it. I love it there. Um, this is my third summer now, and I've been working there for about a month now this summer. And I've completely noticed that last summer doing it, it felt like a drain. I was going in, I'm like, oh, I have to go to work tonight. Like, oh, I have to be here until 10:30 or 11 at night, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And now this summer, I've gone back and completely in this place of like, hey, this is a social hour for me. I can just go and talk to these people, super familiar with it now after working there for 3 summers and just being familiar with it as a teenager too. Like it just kind of feels like my element and I'm just talking. I'm not attached to being busy or being stressed or being good enough for the tables that I'm serving or trying to earn a tip from these people. And it's just been so light being in that place that it actually feels like it's recharging me rather than draining me, which I think that has really come down to me just thinking of it as just a place to be light, like a place to enjoy, like a game. It's like when you're about to go sit down and play a game of cards, you know that you're doing it because you want to enjoy it. So I would be driving to work and I'm like, wow, I'm really excited to just enjoy this process. And like in the past I've tried that before, but this time it's just consistently clicking where I just love being there. And I'm not going to say like it's perfect being in there until 10:30 or 11 p.m. because that's messed up my sleep schedule. Like I was like pretty on point waking up at like 6 in the morning, getting to bed early, like absolutely feeling amazing. But it's just been a little bit of a trade-off. So I've found like, okay, I used to have really amazing aligned, quiet, focused mornings. And now I don't have that, but like look at all this time I have like this social recharge. And I think that I just brought that up because like your college reminded me of that, of like, I remember how refreshing it felt when I stopped my serving job at the end of last summer. And I was like, wow, I have all this time now. And then this summer, it's been a complete shift where I'm like, wow, this is like a recharging. This gives my subconscious some time to just sit with itself and sit with all these things rather than like being at home all the time, thinking that I have to be productive, which would oftentimes just end up on me like doing something on my computer because I think my brain kind of attached productivity with just being on the computer. So I'd just be scrolling or I'd just be like looking at Substack articles or something, like not actually moving forward at all. And now I have this thing taking up my time that has actually been way better on both ends. And now I'm making more money because I'm serving tables.
Couple things I heard there is carelessness and perfectionism, combining those two, really
Yeah.
two completely different polar opposite things. I read a book, The Daily Athlete, Gabriel, I think his name's Daniel. Um,
Mm,
when an athlete struggles mentally, he tries to instill carelessness and perfectionism into it. It's like, how can you be free in your body but also perfect in your mind? Um, and then you gain control by surrendering control. It's ironic.
yes. Yeah.
You also
100%.
You also mentioned gamifying um, life a little bit, and that's what I'm doing right now is having fun with it. Even on one of my healthcare offers, this is funny, like make this tangible. I'm building out a GTA map of Florida, and like I'm gonna do this on Claude and put every single medical office within a certain radius of where I live, and just go door to door and knock and then keep notes. But I'm literally making it a video game. And so Matthew
That's cool.
18:3, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Gamifying it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But Matthew 18:3 suggests you must become like little children and fall back on God. Right. There's a couple things there. Is like I think for me, it's you fall back on God constantly and all the time, like you would as a child to your parent. But you also don't take life so seriously. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be abundant if you believe so. I think there's a lot of people out there that believe life is
Yes.
meant to be suffering and scarce. But I don't believe that myself. And that's the reality I'm going to create because that's what I believe. We know
Yeah.
the truth and what the subconscious mind accepts as true, right? You mentioned something interesting at the end too, as well. I think a lot of people when they get in the personal development space or they get like we're younger, so we want to always be moving forward. There's a spot we always want to be at. We never really want to be where we're at. Like there's a part of us that just wants to be somewhere
Hmm.
else. So that breeds an element of always having to move forward, and you always want to be doing work, especially when it's fun. And so you were like, instead of working, I'm reading Substack or I'm on Twitter. It's like removing the guilt and shame of always having to improve because then you never digest what you have and then you never rest and then you that's how you burn out, right? Is not really the physical part of it but the mental part of it is telling yourself and then go back and telling yourself a story of like I have to move forward, I have to move forward, I have to improve, I have to be doing something. It's like no, you can take a rest
Yeah.
and recharge and ironically you'll make more improvement and get to where you want to go faster and compress time,
Yes. Do
right?
you want to
So
know the biggest thing that has done that for me is reading the Bible before I open the laptop. It's like every morning I wake up, and if I wake up late and I know I have to, let's say I'm working an 11 o'clock shift, so I have to leave my house at 10:15, and I wake up, I'm like, oh, I only have an hour today. Like I want to get some work done. I want to write a little bit. I have that humility to not put myself above God, and I will give the first of your fruits to God. That's a recurring pattern everywhere, especially in the um, first few books, which I've just been reading through. I'm reading front to back, and I'm partway through Joshua right now. Is just giving myself to God first and having that humility of like, okay, listen, I don't need to do this right now. I'm going to do this first. I don't need to be productive. I don't need to constantly be building. Let's focus on this thing that is above me and that is going to improve first my just spiritual well-being, but also just that ability to gamify, I think has really come from that as well before I'm even working. And that's usually 30 minutes to an hour every single morning, and I don't open my laptop before that.
I like that. Touching on the Bible, I know, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to call any names out, and I don't want this to come out the wrong way. I know some people that follow God out of shame and fear. And fear, I think, is okay to follow God out of, but when you read the Bible, you should be moved. That should evoke
Yes.
more positive. If you thought about the map of consciousness, it should invoke courage and above out of you to do the things that you want to do in life. God put you on this earth for a reason, and it wasn't to suffer, it was to serve a mission. And so
Mm.
I feel like a lot of people follow God out of fear and shame, and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it so they don't get judged by other people. They're doing it because they feel like they have to. It's like I was talking to one of my coaches from Stanford. I'm not going to name a name, but he's very accomplished and very decorated. And he said, your path with God, your relationship with God's got to be on your own terms. And when he said that, I was like, boom. I think
Yeah.
it's got to be on your own terms. It was forced upon me as a kid because I just went to religious schools and I appreciated it. And I knew I believed in God, but it really didn't hit me in that stream of consciousness and that vessel didn't really start coming through until it was on my own terms. And is that
Yeah.
is that okay? Is that not okay? It is what it is, right? But it's now more effective because I'm not following religion or following God out of shame, out of fear, right? I understand he's my
Mm.
creator. I'm going to devote my life to him and I'm going to do the things that he's giving me permission and support really to do, not necessarily permission, because permission kind of comes out of fear and kind of external validation. But if it's validation from him, maybe it's not external, but that's another interesting conversation to have. But I feel like a lot of people do
Yeah.
follow God out of fear and shame. And that's another thing I think people need to evaluate is like when you read the Bible, do you come out of it feeling alive, peaceful, inspired? Do you come out feeling fearful? And there's some text in there that should invoke a little bit of fear in you and should allow you to evaluate your life and where you're at. But if it's majoritively like, oh, I'm coming out fearful, I'm coming out shameful, doubtful, guilty, you gotta see like why are you following God? Ask yourself that question.
Yeah, that's super powerful. I found the same exact takeaway there is like I didn't really care. It wasn't pushed on me when I was younger. My family's not been like super religious. It's just kind of not been really talked about. But I didn't really care. Then I went through a like rational phase of like not really believing. Then I was like more on like the spiritual kind of side of things of like the religious but not God. And then I just fell into the path of just being drawn toward the Bible. And there have been a couple of moments that helped guide me toward that. But then, yeah, I found it on my own terms, and every single chapter it feels like has had something profound for me. Just because I think that I found it on my own terms and because I've wanted to. And I also think that maybe it's like if you're feeling guilt or if you're feeling shame while reading the Bible, it might also be a reflection of like what may you be doing or acting in life that is making you feel these things. Like, does it make like are you like let that Bible serve as a mirror
Ooh,
for where you may not be living up to what God and what you deep down know that you maybe should be.
I can agree with that. That's why I said at times it can evoke more negative emotions, and it's
Yeah,
fine.
that's what
Use it as
brought
a
that up for
reflection,
me.
though. Use it as a mirror. Don't sit in the shame. There's nothing good about shame. God, I forget what verse it is, but God's like, there's no good with shame. Let it go. When you sin, just sin and forgive yourself. Because when you forgive yourself, you're asking for forgiveness from God. There's a book, Happy Pocket Full of Money. It connects God back to quantum physics and time. What's interesting is physics suggests, and who knows how accurate this is, that we can only see like 0.0035% of light in the spectrum of light. And it's so interesting
Yeah,
because it's like God is not bound by time. And if you're a creator of God, you're not compressed, or excuse me, you're not bound by time either. So it's like your any belief then is a limiting belief because you can do anything in this life that you can believe that you can do. And it's like
yeah,
that epiphany is like, whoa, okay. If I'm not bound by time, if I'm connected to God, right? And Happy Pocket Full of Money is a great read. When somebody suggested it to me or recommended it, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna read another book about, surface level abundance, and then just it blew
yeah.
me out of the water. I'm reading that again this year,
Good. I
100%.
added it to my book list.
Okay,
I
well,
just
make
I
make it
just
your
wrote
next
it
book.
down.
Make it your next book because I read Letting Go, then that one back to back, and I felt so
Wow.
wealthy. Yeah, I literally
Yeah.
could not believe like I could feel this way. To touch on the mirror part, reality is just a mirror of what's going on inside, and it's like we're all our own little universe at the end of the day, but we're also so abundant and complex at the same time. And so sometimes I like to think of reality just being you're standing in a room full of mirrors. The way, and I've noticed this, like when I'm more energetic, the people around me are also more energetic. They're more full of life, And
Yeah.
it's just so funny. Like I'll wake up some mornings and I'll feel really, really good. And I'll feel high frequency. I've prayed, I've visualized, I've gone and done some devotional, and I'll be super high energy. Then I notice the people around me are also super high energy and they haven't even seen me yet. So I'm like, it's a little weird. Like, why are
Yeah.
you also happy? Maybe it's because they were happy and now it's reflecting to me, right? So, I mean, reality is a set of mirrors, though. And the more you can go internal and the more you can not allow the external world, the money in your bank account, the amount of physical energy that you have, the circumstances that are going on in your life to influence your internal world is when you'll start to quote unquote manifest, right? But also create the reality that you want to really connect back to God, right? So,
That reminds me of a quote that I wrote down from one of your articles or one of your YouTube videos. If it's inevitable, it doesn't matter when, but it matters how. And that I think that resonated with me especially because like even since I was a teenager, before I knew anything self-development, anything business, any of the kind of skills that I had now, like I would say even back to like 11, 12, 13 years old, I knew that two things that I would be making money doing something that I love and that I was going to have like loving wife, great communication, loving family, like keeping that together, like not a broken family. And I've just felt it. Like I've always been able to say those things with no doubt. And then I met my girlfriend, who's now my fiance, getting married this September,
Awesome.
and it's became a part of that. Like that was one really big step of this like inevitability that I've been feeling, and like the when part was really the difficult part for me because I'm like, okay, well, I know that these things are going to happen, but when? Like, prove it to me, you know? And that's kind of like first those thoughts are a little bit like not surrendering control. Like I felt that inevitability, so I know I'm sure that you have a lot more to say on this too. This is just my experience. But like I felt that inevitability, which means that it will happen, but I'm still worried about when it's going to happen rather than just allowing that to happen. And now I'm kind of in the second phase of that one. It's like, okay, well, I'm getting married. Now the second phase of that belief that I've always felt to be true is the like together, very strong, very good communication, not having that broken family. And then the other side of it is making money doing what I love. And just reflecting on this now, I saw that come in the form of online business and writing and coaching and creating. But now, like as I just spoke about it a few minutes ago, like I've been absolutely loving my serving job too. So I'm doing that right now. So I guess that's a little bit of proof. Maybe there's a whole other idea that this inevitability can come in multiple different vehicles.
I got a lot there. Inevitability
Yeah, let's
suggests
go.
that, yeah, they kind of it ties back a little bit into the timepiece with Happy Pocket Full of Money, but I'll take it even a step further. In that video I think you watched, it suggests if there's wins and losses in your reality, if you put wins on a pedestal and losses like they cause deep trows in your emotional state, your highs and lows are going to get higher and lower and higher and lower. And the law of rhythm suggests that as far as
Yes.
the pendulum swings to the right, it's as far as it's going to swing to the left. And that frequency thing is just another story in of itself. But when you decide that your success is inevitable, and instead of putting the fork in the road in your wins and losses, you do it at the start, just say, I'm going to get there one way or another. You're not only able to live more present in the moment, but you're able to take the seeds and out of your losses and refine your process even more. I was talking with my high school baseball athlete, one of the only athletes I still coach, just because I know he's going to be successful. Well, selfishly, and then also like I love coaching him. Um, he had this epiphany last night where I'm like, everything contributes. He went 1 for 9 this week and he had 7 strikeouts. It was not a pretty weekend for him, but I'm like, everything contributes as long as you allow it to contribute. If you believe it can contribute, it will. But if you believe it's tearing you back, guess what? It is. And so allowing the external world to influence your internal world, well, it will. But allowing yourself to fail, okay, what are you going to fear? What can you possibly fear if you don't have the fear of failure? Nothing. It's like, I'm just going to do what I want to do and life becomes more of a game, you know?
Yeah.
John 3:27, you can only receive what's given to you from heaven. And to flip that on its head, right? Like people in the manifestation world talk about, oh, you must feel it before you feel it, and your desire of your desires, and which I think has some truth to it, but I don't believe in that. I see it the other way. The other way is you cannot let the world, a car, an amount of money, a house, a person outside of you give you the feeling that you want to feel because it'll be taken away from you as well when you don't have it, if that makes sense. And so, not allowing the ego part of the world, the physical part of the world to determine what's on the inside. But then you get into the spirituality ego potentially of like, okay, why am I on this earth in the first place? And it's like God put you here for a reason, and that's part of the game of life is figuring that out. One more Bible verse I will touch on, and this one's beautiful, is one I found recently. It's extremely powerful. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 16, 17. I think his name's Yeshua. There was a battle. I can't remember where. It was in the Middle East, and they needed rain for whatever reason. They needed rain, so they dug ditches in order to prepare for the rain, So the rain came in and their enemies thought it was blood, so they retreated. And so the point there is you got to prepare for your dreams before they materialize. You got to spend the money like they're going to materialize. You got to buy the clothes. You've got to do the routine. You got to act as if. And I know that's another thing from the law of attraction world, but it's like you got to act like that person before you become it. You got to become the salesman.
Yeah.
You got to become the athlete. You got to act like it. And it sounds obvious, but it reverse engineers your process, right? Like you figure out where you want to go, you visualize on it, you ingrate it in your subconscious mind, and then you take that massive, messy action and learn and refine your process, right? It goes back to that one path of inevitability of refining constantly and getting feedback.
Yeah.
Like YouTube for me this week and these past 10 days, I've bought a new mic. I fixed my camera angles. My thumbnails have gotten significantly better. I'm working on my hooks now. My success is inevitable because I just keep refining. And it sounds cocky, but it's just like, it's going to happen. Like, as long as I know where I want to go, I'm going to get there. Right. And I have no fear of failure. If a video gets 5
Yeah.
views, I don't care. I'll just redo it if I really want to, or I'll repurpose it into shorts, or I'll just keep posting it on Twitter. It's going to be successful as long as it's what the world needs, you know?
Yeah. And that's a prime example of putting the fork in the road at the beginning. Like you've already passed the fork. There's only one path forward now. And I think it feels like that path forward only works super well if you have that end goal in mind, like you have that vision, but then the fears and the faithful beliefs don't create different forks. You're just on one. I think reality trend surfing talks about it a little bit, and I've not dove into that a ton, but I've learned a lot from just chatting with William Mines a lot, and he
Yeah.
shared this idea of sobriety to me, of like you are sober to the wins and the losses and the highs and the lows and the crests and the troughs of the waves. And this really, really, really used to get to me because you said it earlier. I don't remember exactly what it said, but if you keep following that, the highs are going to get even higher and the lows are going to get even lower. And I've not so much recently. I think I may be learning sobriety, and I think the Bible has certainly helped with that. And I'm excited to look into that 2 Kings quote, the Second Kings book in general. I mean, I'm just excited to keep on reading the Bible, but I'm excited
Yeah.
to look into that quote a little bit more too, because that sounds absolutely fascinating. But I was realizing that when I was down, I was thinking of myself as not good enough because I wasn't experiencing this high that I had used to feel or that I felt yesterday or last week. I'm like, how come yesterday I felt so damn good and now today I'm just feeling miserable? And that makes it even worse and worse and worse. And it makes the highs even better and better and better because you're like, wow, I'm so glad that I'm not feeling like how I was yesterday. That felt like shit, or I wasn't creative at all, or that podcast sucked, or whatever it was. And then the highs, you start feeling good solely because you're not feeling as bad as you were. And when you're feeling bad, you're only feeling bad because you're not feeling as good as you were. Like what I noticed is one bad thing would happen, I would get down, but then I would actually be okay with the event that happened, but then I would keep getting lower and lower and lower because of me just feeling bad. So it actually wasn't that bad at all, and I got over the event, but it was just making it in my head worse and worse and worse. And same thing goes with the highs, like I mentioned.
I think a great question people can ask themselves is where's your source of faith coming from? And if it's more external than internal, then just evaluate that and become aware of it. Because if it's external, it
Mm,
can be taken away from you, right? And then on the highs and lows, you start inviting lows and failure into your life almost. Because look, like I was talking with that baseball kid, and he's like, "Why do you invite lows?" I'm like, "Are you gonna go out there in the baseball field and purposely strike out?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, so you're gonna invite failure, right? You're gonna be okay with it because you know there's a counterpart, there's a seed into it." Napoleon Hill talks about that a lot in both of his books,
mm.
Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich. I haven't read Think and Grow Rich. I don't know why I haven't. I need to read it because
I've not read either.
I know a very wealthy person who I met with this weekend. He's like, "Yeah, I love that book." I'm like, "I gotta read it if he's loving it, right?" Um, I think some people then going back to the spirituality ego, which I've experienced, it sucks. You got to
Hmm.
go through that phase though of like, okay, why am I on
Yes.
this earth? And then you just realize like you're not supposed to know your purpose. You got to find it. That's part of the game of life. But People in the
Mm.
manifestation world and like the woo-woo world, they go into like, okay, if I have these things and I give myself the feeling before I manifest it, I won't feel the high. It's like you'll feel the high when you get there. You know what I mean? It's like you will feel the high,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, when you get there. So just allow yourself to act from that place of inevitability, of internal faith, right? Of Matthew 9:29. I love that one. The book of Matthew, I've got 5 or 6 verses on my whiteboard sitting there. They sit on my YouTube videos. My mentor said he wanted me to, he's like, you should start with the clear whiteboard. I'm like, no, because I'm going to get known for those verses, for having the verses up there,
Good.
not for the verses. I'm not
Yeah.
taking
That's the
credibility for
first
God.
thing I noticed. I
But
I
people are going to
clicked
know.
on one of your videos this morning and I was busy reading the whiteboard that I had to rewind to hear the first like 5 seconds of what you said. Like
Ups the watch time, from
that's it.
a stats perspective, right? Ups the watch time.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
a good move right there.
I think if anybody in the audience is struggling with spirituality and God and that world, one thing you can do to connect the two, if you're flirting with it, because the middle is where people go to die, right?
Yeah.
Like anything, like in business, I'll give the best example I know. You sell a low ticket to a lot of people or a high ticket to a few people. But if you sell a medium ticket to a few people, it just gets weird, right? Like the fulfillment goes halfway, their commitment's halfway. It's like the middle is where people go to die. But if you want to connect spirituality and like more of God, if you're atheist, but you're kind of like, I know there's laws of the universe and all that kind of stuff, let go and let God. Let go and let God. I love that quote because it's like it'll fill the woo-woo people, like their kind of thing of it. And I'm just referring to them because that's the best way to refer to them. I'm not being critical.
Yeah.
Um, I mean it in the best way possible. But it also is like fall back. 2 Corinthians 5:7, walk by faith, don't walk by sight. I was talking with one of my clients, my entrepreneurial clients, and he's on fire. Denzel Hines. He's closed 3 solar clients this week.
Let's
Shout
go.
out Denzel.
Awesome.
He has a great story. I'll talk about him in a minute. But he's like, I'm praying more, I'm visualizing more. And I'm like, you don't believe in God yet? He goes, right, but you believe in a source. Yes. At the end of the day, we all believe in a creator, and that's all that matters, right? Like the division between religions is just division. That's all it is. It's all created there just for us to fight over each other, in my opinion. But Denzel, I'll give you guys a great story if you're struggling with courage and if you're in the middle, where people go to die, by the way, if I haven't said that yet. But Denzel was a college basketball player as soon as as late as December. And they were playing a game at BYU, really good team right now. BYU is a top 10 program in the nation. And he was supposed to get a lot of playing time. He was supposed to start, didn't start. Got in the game, got a foul right away. Coach took him out. I think that's what happened. Got in the locker room after the game, ripped his jersey. Coach suspended him. Bad reason to suspend a player, in my opinion. Playing the game in college myself at the football level. But whatever, it's my opinion. But happened for a reason, right? God works in mysterious ways, just like he gave me a seizure a couple weeks ago. But seriously, going back to Denzel, he got suspended. We were having a lot of conversations, a lot of voice notes going back and forth, a couple Zooms. I'm like, what do you want out of life, Denzel? Like, pretend I'm not here and talk to yourself. He goes, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want it out the mud. I want to prove some people wrong. And we talked about that. I'm like, that's good energy to catapult yourself with, but you can't live off that energy forever. And he's learned. He's done a great job, Denzel. I'll link his Instagram in the description. I'll send it to you after.
Yeah. You want to send it to me? Cool. I will.
Yeah. He started, and I'll write that down right now. He started, co-founded Athlete Creator Lab, scaled it to a certain point where he's like, my abilities above this, exited that, and he started building his own marketing agency. And he's like, I've only got cash
since December.
Since December.
That's amazing.
A few weeks ago, he's like, I got 30 days to figure this out. I'm like, man, you got all the time in the world. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen here? What is the worst thing that can happen here? He goes, you're right. I'm like, lean into the inevitability. And he's been able to close 3 clients this week, 3 solar clients for marketing. And so one of them, he had an 8x ROAS. They spent 2,500 on ads, got him 20 grand in revenue. I'm like, man, you got evidence now. You got a testimonial, filmed a VSL right away. And a great VSL too. Shout out. I mean, Denzel's been killing it. VSLs are hard to learn. If the audience, if you guys have ever filmed a VSL, you get it. VSLs are not fun. But once you master them, it's like a whole nother skill in of itself. Once you know how to do a
That's awesome.
VSL, you
I've
know how to
not looked
sell.
into it at all.
Yeah, you know how to sell, you know how to market, you can do anything top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, you can set, you can do the whole game and VSLs because you pre-handle objections, you call out your ICP,
Hmm.
you teach your method, you show testimonials. It does the whole thing across the board. The
Everything.
pre-sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. And surge sales calls into enrollment calls. I love VSLs. Um, I mean, I've gotten on the phone with athletes before and they've been like, here's my Amex. Um, because of VSLs. And so learning that skill, if you guys are wanting to become more of an entrepreneur, learn the art of VSLs or sales first, and then everything kind of trickles down from there. Just because of the skills and the psychology that you learn. That went into a lot. But yeah, shout out Denzel.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome. All that to say, let's go, Denzel.
I'm loving his progress. I'm really happy for him. And I encouraged him to step away from the game because that's what he wanted to do. And I knew that's
Hmm.
what he wanted. I knew what he wanted because I can tell, right? Like him and I have both played the game at a certain level. You get to a point where you just lose your love for the game and you can either play through that and force yourself to do it and make money doing it. Don't get me wrong. Like it's awesome. And you earn that right to play the Division 1 level, or you take a leap of faith. And he didn't tell his family. And so he's like, I don't know what they're gonna think. I'm like, what do you want, Denzel? What do you want? Courage and embarrassment are
Yeah.
inversely correlated, you know? So
That's awesome. Um, I don't know if it was exactly clear to me. Maybe I missed it. Where does the middle way fit into that? Is that what brought up this story?
in a way, yeah. Sam Ovens, everybody probably knows Sam Ovens, one of the co-founders of school.com. He has a great video on this that he released like 10 years ago. And every entrepreneur like knows this, like going into it. He draws out a circle on a whiteboard and he goes, if you have 5 things you focus on, the most you can put into each of them is 20% if you distribute it evenly. If you had 100 units of energy, right? So you can put 20 units into each if you want to
Mm-hmm.
put it in evenly. But if you got one thing you can focus on, you can put 100 units of energy into it. And therefore, it magnifies and it compounds and it builds quicker. And so I told
Yeah.
Denzel that. I got out a whiteboard on Zoom and I'm like, all right, this is what you're going through. This is what you could do. And I just sat there. I didn't say anything. I just sat there. I'm like, I let him digest it. I let the fear build in him because I'm like, let's get a little fear out of him, see what we can do. Right. And it worked. Right. And so that's just like the middle is where people go to die. If he's trying to play college basketball and build the college athlete agency that he was trying to build, it's like, first of all, the college athlete agency, the athletes know you're not fully committed to it, so they're not going to take you as seriously. And then think about what the basketball team was thinking. And he even mentioned it. He's like, my coaches and teammates don't take me seriously at times because of what's going on in the background and all the social media stuff I'm doing. I'm like, okay, so they both hate you. They both don't take you seriously, right? You might as well pick one or the other, right? Because the middle is where people go to
Yep.
die. And it goes back to God, is like God gives subtle hints, I think, through emotions. I think emotion is the language of God. I haven't read that in the Bible yet, so I'm not going to say that, but that's how I'm interpreting it right now, right? My interpretation doesn't have to be yours, right? But emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. The language of the subconscious mind is the infinite intelligence, and God is infinite. So there's an argument there. But what the point I'm trying to make is when you need to make a shift in life, you know it. And the longer you wait, the longer you stay in the middle of like flirting with what you're doing now and needing to make a change, right? Like my dad, for example, he knew he needed to hire another attorney for his law firm. He's like, oh God, it's killing me. It's killing me. And then his business partner at one point goes, just do it or shut up, you know? And then he did it and he feels a lot better now. He can, like, I
Yeah.
can notice the stress off of him. It's coming off his body. You can feel his energy, right? That kind of thing. Um,
Mm.
and look, he's really good at what he does, but there comes a point where you got to grow. And there's reasons for it, right? Maybe that lawyer was looking for a job opportunity and he's a great fit for the firm, like that kind of stuff. It goes so deep,
Yeah.
but the middle is where people go to die. So if you have to make a decision, if you're in the audience right now and you're at an inflection point in your life, just know there's something great on the other side of courage.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It's like that middle way. Part of the middle way may not be just doing what's in the middle, like you mentioned. Like you could sell high ticket, you could sell low ticket, or you could sell mid tier and then everything gets funky. Or you could be a basketball player, or you could have a coaching agency, or whatever it was. Or you could try to do both and both sides will hate you. Or you can, that's one side of the middle way, but then this other middle way is being in the middle of two decisions. So it's not like a very physical thing, but it's all a mental thing. And then those just wear and tear on your body and on your mind, and especially your subconscious. Like I think the most the most unclear time of my life, like where I just noticed myself not fully mentally there, has been when I've been in between two decisions. And I think this is just a theory that is just coming up, is that like your subconscious is only focused on that decision. It has no time to process the conversation you had or what happened yesterday or all of these inputs that are all over us in the world, social media and people and the news and everything and music. And it's like your subconscious is so busy with just trying to solve this decision, and that's exactly why it shows up, keeps recurring in your mind, in your thoughts, because your subconscious is pushing that up. It's like, get this out of me, please. And then it goes into your body too. It's like you are literally just more tense in the physical sense and the mental sense. So it's like the middle way of being in between a decision is maybe more dangerous than the middle way of being in between two like physical opportunities, like the high ticket, low ticket versus being in the mid tier. And then that decision is ending you. I don't even know.
It grows until it implodes, right? If you wanted
Yeah.
the little cliche saying there, it grows until it implodes. And it's tough, but God's waiting on the other side of that courageous decision, and the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Obviously, the stakes get higher. But I like that reference to the subconscious mind. It's like it's just waiting for you, and you can't be fully present in every moment. So it's a great reference there.
Yeah. It's like, especially knowing how much that works for you and how much that upholds your identity and your habits as well. It's like it's hindering who you are and what you do. Because because you can't just say yes or no, I'm gonna do this thing or I'm not gonna do this thing. And it's like I don't know, it just seems like so often people just simply won't make a decision when it takes 5 minutes, and then like
Mhm.
acting
Mhm.
on it might not even be the most difficult part. It's just choosing it.
Oh,
And
the
I
one who faces his fears doesn't have to face them. Game of Life and How to Play It. If you have not read this book, I'm gonna reread that one too this year. The one who faces his fears does not have to face them. Um, Listening to your intuition is a skill in of itself, and then acting upon your intuition is another thing. We always know what to do.
yeah.
We always know what to do. And people hate to admit it because they're like, "Oh no, I think it's strategy." It's like, "No, you know what to do."
Yeah, there's always the answer there.
And like, I'll give you a great example of not even like when you don't know what to do. So I hired Jeremy Pogwester. I had to go to the debt to do it, but God was waiting on the other side with Nick's opportunity, right? And in 6 weeks, we had a $5,000 ticket. It was incredible. I mean, talk about compressing time. But to get to that decision, sorry, there's a bug on my screen. I I joined his free school, did the work,
Mm.
forced myself to get courageous, start posting more content. And the school was like, if you don't post content, we kick you out. And I was like, oh, so I actually got to do this now. Instead of like talking about it, I got to do this. Ran a follower
Yeah.
ad, tons of followers, tons of traffic, horrible leads. I'm like, "Ugh, I need help." So I got on the phone with Brandon Forbes, salesman, a couple weeks prior to, paid like $100 to keep the lower price. And I called him and I'm like, hey, I'm ready to move forward, but I want to give another guy a shot. And so what I did to test him a little bit was like, can you go over the program again? He goes, yeah, but we already did it. And I'm like, oh, so give me attitude. So I'm like, this is not aligned. So I let him give it. I let him tell me anyways. And he was wrong about that, first of all, because, there were like certain times of the group where that just didn't line up with my schedule. I'm like, I wouldn't have done the program anyways. I wouldn't have talked to you before if it didn't line up with my schedule. You know what I mean? So you didn't. So you're wrong. You're wrong. And then Jeremy, I turn around, I go get on the phone with Jeremy, like either the next day or the day after. He's double the price, and I went with him because that's what my intuition told me. It was right. You know,
Wow.
double the price. So instead of 5K, it was 10K. Who in their rational mind makes that decision?
Yeah.
God. And that's it. And I
Yeah,
listened to my
exactly. Yeah,
intuition.
God has the rational and he gives you the intuition so you don't have to be rational.
Oh man, what's I got a Bible verse up there. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's Matthew 19:26. With man, nothing is possible, but with God, all things are possible. If it's not Matthew 19:26, guys,
Ah,
it's Matthew 6:11. But I'm 99% sure it's Matthew 19:26. Matthew 6:11 is great too. I
wow.
don't remember what that one is. So look up both, guys.
Yeah, look up all of them all the time.
Yeah, God's always right. So
Mm. I had one more big thing that I wanted to touch on that I think we hit on a little bit earlier. Like I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to ask this, like what I have written down. And then it just happened to like line up so well. What do both like the spiritual woo-woo hippie types and rational hustle culture types both get wrong, where the answer actually does lie in the middle way? Now, this is a little bit middle way different than what we talked about, it sounds like.
okay, so what
I have some
do
thoughts here.
okay, so what do the hustlers get wrong? Which there's nothing wrong with them, and then what do the spiritual people get wrong? I
Hmm.
think, oh man, that's a great question. And if you had given me that before the podcast, I'd probably have a better answer for you. But I'm glad you put me on the spot with the question because
Because it's kind of like
that's a great question.
it sounds like you've been a little bit in both worlds,
Oh, hustler for sure.
taking
Like that's
principles
all
from
I knew
both.
playing football. Like work, work,
Yeah.
work, work, work. Like that's all I knew. Like I believed in God, but I have no idea like how powerful it was, and obviously that I needed to devote my life to Him. But
Hmm.
and then the other way was like, yeah, I've been a little bit of spiritual, but I knew it was going to lead back to God eventually. So I allow if I
Hmm.
read anything spiritual, I must and I have to connect it back to God, or it's not right. If that makes sense. What do they
Very
both get
powerful.
wrong? Man,
I'm gonna
I
think
think
of
they know
an
deep
answer
down they
for
gotta
myself too.
I think they know deep down eventually it's gonna lead back to God and the creator, but they
Mm,
selfishly and egotistically feel like they have to be on the path that they're on to eventually get there.
yeah.
Or they're just completely ignorant to the fact that there's a lot more variables and spirituality and power, consciousness, frequency at play than they realize. Now, here's what I will say. There's a lot of people out there that work hard, even like devote themselves to God a little bit, but just happen to abide by the Bible very well. You know what I mean? Like, I'll make a great analogy here. You remember that kid back in high school who was just like really good at everything, but just never practiced, never put in the work, was always drinking, was always partying, but was damn good at what he did? We all knew that kid,
Mm,
right? He never practiced. He
yeah.
showed up late half the time, but he was really good. He was just living with unwavering faith and conviction, right? Maybe or maybe not was in the Bible, but was living by God's creed, ironically. you know?
Yeah. It's
I
like that's
think there's some hustlers there that devote their life to God, but don't devote it in the manner that they may want to, or not should to. I don't want
yeah.
to put that on anybody else either. They may or may not go to church. They may or may not read the Bible, but they just happen to live in alignment with God and listen to their
It's like
intuition.
such a fundamental way of being that great people will just naturally fall into it, whether they're reading the Bible or studying how to live a religious life or not, because it's like these are just like fundamentals. They like the principles of well-being and succeeding
Right.
and just being yeah, being an amazing person. So it's like these people who are
Yeah.
naturally good at everything are living these things out.
I'll tie a bow. I think some spiritual people, when they get into the spiritual world, become very neurotic about how they act,
Yeah,
and they forget
yeah,
about the physical plane. They try to do the law of attraction, and James 2:24 says, "Without works, faith is dead." And so they try to say, "Oh, I'm just going to attract everything. Everything's going to come into my life." When you're looking for the right things, they pop up naturally, but you got to take action. Like that's a
yeah,
non-negotiable. $1 million just ain't gonna pop up in your bank account, and if it does, then you don't need the law of attraction anyways, right? You know what I mean? Or you're already like really
yeah,
good at it, whatever. But it goes back to the carelessness and perfectionism piece. It's like perfect in your surrenderance to God, careless in presence in your day-to-day actions. Not reckless, but also like careless in like how it's going to turn out in a way, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Like free.
Surrender. More surrender is the right
Yeah,
word there.
yeah,
So yeah, not being neurotic about the physical world, but also knowing that the work has to be put in. James 2:24. I love that quote. Love that Bible verse.
Hmm. That's super powerful. That kind of is that that balance that I've found. Because yeah, I've definitely found myself like super neurotic. Once I got into spirituality, it was like, oh, like everything has to be this little way, and I can't. Like I have to make sure that I don't ever break these little rules that I've set for myself, because that's not spiritual, or then it's gonna mess up the the frequencies of whatever I'm trying to get, or anything like that. And now I'm realizing it's like, wow, it's like building stress onto myself while trying to think of myself as free and open. And one thing that came to mind there is, I think you said it's like, what do the spiritual and the hustle types both get wrong? And it was like deep down they both know that it leads back to God, or they're ignorant to it. And it's like that just goes to show the power of having an open mind. And like open-mindedness doesn't mean agreeing with the person in front of you all the time. Like not that doesn't mean being an
Everybody's
agreeable
right.
person. Yeah.
Everybody's right. That's the screwed up thing is like in this infinite world, everybody's right, which sucks sometimes. But like Nick, like we were on a group call with Nick, going back to him. There's about 15 of us in there, and somebody was asking a question. I forgot what about. He goes, "Yeah, he's right." He's like, "No," and then whoever asked it was like, "No, no way." He goes, "Well, you're right too." It was like, oh my
I
goodness.
can I can hear Nick saying that.
I know, and he's so powerful and so grounded too. Like, he's right, right? But everybody's right, and then you've got to have
Hmm.
the open mindedness, because it does build and it does solidify what you truly believe in and what you truly believe is right. That's
Yeah.
why. But going back to the neuroticism and when you first get into spirituality, that's why knowing what you want to the fullest and most detailed and intricate detail that you can think of is very key, because you get what you asked for. I wanted to go to
Mm.
Stanford for the connections and the name of having Stanford. I didn't graduate from there, but guess what I have? The name and the connection.
Wow. Yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
asked me last week, like, why do you want to go to Stanford? I go, like, is that a question? Like, nobody ever really like asked that question. Like, you just kind of go, right? Like, you get in, unless you go into the Ivies, like, you just kind of you go, right? But somebody asked, like, why did you really want to go? I'm like, oh, it's for the names and the connections. And that epiphany hit me, like, I got what I asked for. And then trusting
Wow.
your
Yeah, yeah.
subconscious mind, it's always working for you. And then your reticular activating system as well. I have an article, please link it.
That's
Um,
exactly what I was gonna say too.
right? It's like your brain's always working for you. And that's why presence in the moment's so key. I'll give you another great story on this, and it's in the article, but if you don't want to read it, I'll say this now.
What's the
There's a
article you want me
road,
to link?
the RAS article I'll send to you.
Okay, I gotcha.
Um, there's a road local to me. I've driven by it 1,000 times, probably. A lot.
Mm.
Maybe not 1,000, but a lot. And when I first started building a healthcare offer, a payment processing offer, I knew I was going to go door to door at some point and then advertise that way, because boots on the ground is always going to win first. In any startup, I don't care what you think. Nowadays, you might be able to get away with it, but boots on the ground definitely works. You want to connect with people. And I never noticed this plaza with 7 medical offices. As soon as I started and set my intentions out
Wow.
to build a certain portfolio size, guess what I noticed?
It's all right there, right by you.
Yeah, it's right in front of me. It's been right in front of me for 6
Okay.
years, or like 7, 8 years, whatever it is, as long as I've driven
Hmm.
by that road.
Hmm.
And it's like the power of the reticular activating system will guide you through life in whatever your subconscious believes are your goals. And that's the screwed up thing,
Yeah.
is like, you can never lie to the universe. You can never lie to God, which is in of itself what connects us to it. It probably is our subconscious mind, and it ingests everything that we, excuse me, that we give it, and especially like day to day, our actions and stuff. And so, what you believe are your conscious goals might not believe what your subconscious goals are, which is why it's super important to pray and visualize
Wow.
that first.
Yes. Yeah, dig into that subconscious. That like everything is always right, paired with like your subconscious knowing what is right. Mm, gosh, I had this exactly in my head, but I missed it.
There's a
That.
million ways to make $1 million. You know,
Hmm.
there's a
Oh
billion
yes,
ways
yeah.
to make a
Here.
$1 billion. Oh, good.
Everything. If everything is always right, and your subconscious is is programmed to see that and see how everything is working in your favor, then suddenly the hustle culture that got you into playing football and got you into Stanford was working out in your favor. And even the injury and the surgeries was working out in your favor. And then let's say like the extreme woo woo hippie types, or even like just the stuff that we've incorporated from that of like a little bit of manifestation. It's like if that's working out in your favor, then that's good. And working out in your favor doesn't mean that if you're manifesting $1 million that you're going to get $1 million, but maybe it's working out in your favor in the sense that you are going to learn that that doesn't work, or that that does work if you pair that manifestation as more of a visualization to then be able to act on it. And it's like working out in your favor doesn't always mean getting what you want. That's why I think my biggest takeaway from reading the Bible has been humility, and that not everything is about you. And I think that both, maybe this is my answer to the question I asked you. I think both the spiritual types and the hustle culture types think that everything is about them. If I work hard enough, I will get this. Or like the spiritual side is like, kind of feels like you're creating your own religion. Like whatever you want, you fit in. Whatever you don't like, you just put to the side. And it's all about you. There's no humility. You are at the center of everything rather than giving it up to God, to something higher, to something past you. And to me, it's been feeling like only when you give yourself up. It's very interesting that giving up is called like giving up. Like you are giving it up to God. Only when you give yourself up to God is everything actually going to work out in your favor. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be what you want.
We all want the same thing. We all come from the same source. The concept of oneness is very true and can keep you grounded. Is like, and there's a book that I just read that mentioned this, Outsmarting Reality. By the way, I'm reading it for a fourth time in a row, so it's a great one.
Wow. Wow.
Fourth time in a row. I read it, no annotations, black pen, red pen, now a blue pen. So I might have to order a green pen for the fifth time. I might read it without.
What are you thinking when the first 3 times you close that book for like the last page and you're like, I'm done?
You got 3 more hours?
You weren't done. You weren't done.
But going back to the other point, everybody I think can believe in mind, body, spirit, even the hustle types. If you thought about like my method, sometimes I call it crystal clear clarity, visualization, and massive messy action. The body part goes to the massive messy action. And you could say the mind or spirit goes to crystal clear clarity and visualization. They kind of go hand in hand. The mental and the spiritual world can kind of go hand in hand, right? Intuition, feeling something right, thinking about it, right? They go hand in hand. But mind, body, spirit shows up everywhere in your life. And knowing what you want, praying and visualizing on it. We pray more than you think. And acting upon it, get you what you want to go. It's that simple. I have a manifestation article and video too. I'll send those to you. Those are great to read and or watch. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, you could just send me the links to anything that I should add in the description here. This feels like a fantastic place to wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts or reflections from what we've talked about?
If anybody wants to continue this conversation, DM me the word transform on X and let's chat. I've coached high school, college, semi-pro, professional athletes, 6 to 7 fig entrepreneurs. If any of this resonated with you, DM me the word transform on X and let's have a chat. So thanks, Reese, for having me on. This was a great conversation. This is definitely something we can build off of, and it felt like we just kept digging a bigger and bigger rabbit hole.
Definitely.
A good one, but a bigger and bigger one. So I'll be more than happy to come back on or have you on my podcast, the Inner Game Podcast. It's not an official one, but it's one I host on YouTube. I interview some of my athletes. I interview some of my business partners. I think next week I'm interviewing the CEO of RealChamp.app. They're a startup social media platform that's raising money for nonprofits and athletes as well. So cool. Would love to have you on there or come back or both. So
yeah, definitely. We got a lot of material to dive deeper into now. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Peace.